Hello, everybody joining us on Eventive. Welcome to day 3 of Nevada Women's Film Festival of our live events. I'm Nadine-Gabrielle Natividad. I'm one of the co-founders of Eccentric Artists Film Collective, and I also run a lot of the social media for Eccentric Artists and Nevada Women's Film Festival. So if you were interacting with anyone on Facebook or Instagram, it was most likely me. Joining us behind the camera is one of my fellow board members and co-founder of Eccentric Artists, Jemsen Bollozos. Moderating today's Q&A is the wonderful Michelle Patrick, who is part of the Nevada Women's Film Fest Board of Directors. Over the past decade, Michelle Patrick has worked at the intersections of theater, dance, film, arts programming, and public speaking. Her work currently focuses on nonprofit arts organizations, cultural institutions, and individual artists. Originally from Queens, New York, she's a facilitator, voiceover artist, and has varied background as an arts administrator that includes the Nevada Arts Council, City of Las Vegas, Denver Center for the Performing Arts, and the Sundance Film Festival. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you, Nadine, for that really beautiful introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of us that are joining us right now. I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming one of the directors from For Mothers, Dr. Rachel Bandur, who is also the founder and chair of For Mothers Leave Lebanon and the Women's Movement. And Dr. Rachel, anything you want to add to that, please go ahead. But I'll let you speak momentarily. But first, I just wanted to say what an honor this is and what a privilege this is to speak with you, because I was just absolutely just taken aback watching this film. So compelling, so captivating. And I just want to dive right in. One of the first questions, I mean, you had talked about or mentioned that at one point, you wanted to put your hands down. You know, you had received so much pushback and adversity to the politicians and the military. Why keep going? Were you ever, did you go past that fear, and how did you get to that point? Are you still concerned for your safety, for your welfare, and why keep pushing?
No, it was just for a split minute, not second, but minute, because I was blamed many times to be stupid, and I don't understand. I'm an academic, I understand, I can learn things, but all of a sudden, I am just a stupid woman that don't understand anything, and how dare I? And since I researched women's leadership during the since biblical time, I am aware of this terminology. But still, when it hits you, it's painful. And also, we were attacked since the name of the movement was For Mothers. It's a name that we adopted. It's not a name we gave ourselves.
Right.
And I will soon explain exactly what it's all about. And I wanted to say that we were not only women. Yeah, it was led by women. It started by women, but it was actually families from the Galilee. And I feel totally safe, unlike, unfortunately, the Lebanese women that couldn't join us because they are more vulnerable. And it took me a while to understand that. And I was very proud about my country, that I can approach anyone in the government and actually tell them exactly what I think about them. But one night, as I say in the documentary, someone, actually he's my neighbor. He lives in my neighborhood. Actually, his parents, his son is my son's classmate, so I know him. But it was very nasty. And he worked at the Ministry of Defense. And he was trying to intimidate me. And we know that he's very condescending and not specifically a nice person. I meet him here on the street sometimes. Now he's afraid of me because I made such an issue about this, and he denies it. I said, you know, when he denies it, it reminds me like sexual abuse. It's the same, the same way, by the way. Yeah. I never did it. I never said it, and I have proof. You know what they said, if you tell friends around you at the moment that it happened, it's actually happened, because right. I didn't record it. So it's very interesting. And also another issue that we suffered from, sexual curses. Like, you know, also in English and any other language, many other languages, not everyone, there are many curses about the mother. You can think of, yeah? You can think about curses that about mothers. They curse your mother. Oh, wow. So not for some reason, apparently this is the immediate curse, the first thing you receive the moment you are on the front and trying to say something that is not comfortable to the people in power. So immediately they hit your sexuality and your gender. This is the first thing, to dismiss your credentials, your sanity, you're not trusted. So if you look at biblical times, even this is a very effective method Absolutely. To shut you down. Absolutely. So I was aware of that. At this night, I was more vulnerable, but our son's life was on the line. Our safety and security here in the north was on the line. And we lived this life for years, that sending the troops into Lebanon supposed to protect us. So they were killed there. They killed Hezbollah over there, or other groups that they did not fight the Lebanese army, by the way. It was only other organization in south of Lebanon. Actually of residents, of people who lived in southern Lebanon. And at the same time, we were not protected. Actually, it was escalating the war situation. The fact that they were there in their country, not protecting us from the border. And this is what we were asking them to do. The name of the Israeli army is IDF, Israel Defense Forces. You need to defend us, first of all, from the border. You don't have any business in occupying and going into other places. You need to do it. But in the army, also in the States, you know, they invade Iraq and Afghanistan, and this concept that you have to go there and be there. I'm not arguing about if it's efficient or not. I'm against it. I believe that you need to do everything in different ways other than wars. But it was called naive. But we insisted that it's not working. And actually, the concept of the government for so many years was wrong, and we proved it. Although we had a lot of rejection and animosity from the people who disagree with us. Yeah. We started from 20% support. We ended it after 3.5 years, withdrawing from Lebanon. I don't know if relatively in peace. I don't know. It's hard to determine that. And 80% support.
Yeah, it seemed like you had a lot of, particularly men who had a lot to say about what you were doing, particularly from one of the members of the Israeli parliament. I'm just quoting him. This was really compelling too, this quote. I think ultimately the Four Mothers movement is a catastrophe. First of all, anyone who asks that we make decisions based on emotions and ignores logical and rational thought may just lead to disaster. You know,
yeah, this is so funny.
It was because, right, it perpetrates the stereotype about women being emotional and hysterical. But here's the thing, can I ask you, do men lead with egos? Do they, I mean,
Right. So usually, I mean, this was the joke. Actually, we made it into a joke because how stupid you can be to make this argument. And we became very nasty. We actually very good girls. I never, curse people or do things like that. But it was so annoying that we started to use, and I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but it was sometimes inevitable just to use the same language toward them back. It's not recommended from educational point of view, I have to admit. But sometimes it's so annoying that how stupid you can be to say an argument like that. Like you are walking to a war only based on rational decisions, because after, actually recently, they had many documentaries about the reason why the government and some people in the military, not everyone agree with this war, but the one who are always looking for the opportunity to fight, and some people are like that. Not everyone in the military. I have to admit that we had a lot of friends in the military and many generals that retired from the military and joined us immediately. We were not only women. And actually, I was very proud about the Israeli society, that a movement that named Four Mothers. Former generals are not ashamed to join us and to support us. It was so amazing. Yeah, so it became kind of a silly joke. I don't think that anyone say it or anymore as much. There's always people that will say that rationality versus emotional, but it's less and less part of legitimate conversation,
Yes. Also, it was just really fascinating how, as a mother, you were being questioned about your identity and your maternal instinct, right? Like, I want my son to be safe, and I want all of our sons to be safe. And here was, I'm so excited to be speaking with you, because this was, first of all, you were my hero for saying this. This was one of my favorite things that you had said. You were sitting and talking about your frustrations and about working with the politicians, and you said, and I quote, "You sit with them and you see how incapable they are. They're just terribly inept, these people. You sit with," and I'm saying this from a objective perspective. You sit across a person, someone like you or me, and he's so unintelligent and so belligerent and so patronizing. I mean, how did you, let me finish the quote. "And it made me feel so disillusioned. I really don't know how to handle it at this point." I mean, at that point, did you really just want to put your hands up? Because I felt that.
Yeah, no, I mean, oh, wow. It's such a huge topic. Right. Okay, I'll try to narrow it down. Yeah, I want to mention that I wrote a book, and the documentary is based on this book. Mm-hmm. And in the documentary, we managed to get, let's say, even less than 20% of what we wanted to include. So the book is kind of elaborate a little bit more, a lot more. So I discuss a lot of these issues more in depth. And I mentioned before that recently, TV production bought the right to make a TV series in Israel and the States, and also film the rights to make a movie about it. So we'll see what they will make, what they will do with my book. I'm a little bit afraid. In order, and okay, one more thing, if you want to read more about it, because I'm going to talk about it, but very briefly. if you want to read more about it, so just go to my website, rachelbandur.com. And there is an archive, Ohio State archive, that have articles in English about this question as well. So about politicians, first of all, we have to remember that not everyone is unintelligent and evil and opportunist. And really, some people worked with us. Actually, a lot of politicians worked with us. And others did not give a damn. It was not on their agenda. Therefore, people, whatever. I have more important things to do, like be elected. This was a big struggle. This was the most devastating politicians to meet, by the way. The fact that your life doesn't matter.
Right.
This was the hardest. I used to remember that whenever I was going to meet with them, maybe the second time, I said, you know what? It took my energy, took so much energy, and I asked sometime to be replaced. That other people, thanks God, we have so many talented people can argue with them. And so when I knew, sometimes I knew that it's too much. And if I need, it's like a marathon, you don't know when you're going to achieve your goal.
Right.
And I knew that I cannot stop. Since we started, I knew I'm not going to stop until it's ended. And I'm saying it to everyone who started protest. If you start something and you stop in the middle, it takes it so much back. You have to go all the way. So I have to guard my energy and perseverance. But so this group of people that indifference was the most difficult. And then we had the people who rejected us in such an unintelligent way, because they are stuck in their militaristic approach to everything. They're just violent people. Everything, I guess also in their personal life, I don't know if I'm, but I guess this is their approach to life. You hit back. If something is wrong, you go and use power and force. And our boys, our lives, our tax money is what's giving them this power, these forces. And now I'm a servant for this horrible mindset that wants to kill the other people in order to solve a problem. And in our area, actually, think about it, that the border, it's very close. The houses from both sides of the border are very close to each other. It's almost like across the street. How much you can do with a war? Like eventually you need to talk with people and find a political solution. And they were refusing to do that. Because constantly they were saying there was no one to talk about. They understand only power. And since we have a strong army, that's it. They are going, the first choice is to use it. By the way, now I'm working with group of another group that we came out at the parliament with a law before the government approved a military, another military event to solve problems. They have to start first and to try negotiation first before you go into a war. So we'll see if this law will pass and what will happen with that. Because it was proven that they don't consider this option enough about negotiating, and they immediately, if our country or there was some violent attack from the other side for some reason, so sending the troops, sending planes, boom.
Wow. You know, the other struck me was the loyalty that all of the young men had to the military and to the cause. I mean, was that hard to film or watch or just kind of walk through?
Okay, it's a very interesting question. So first of all, we need to understand that we are educated to be strong here, especially after the Holocaust post-trauma.
Okay.
And therefore we need to be strong. We need to defend our country, to serve in the army, and especially in special units. It's like go to an Ivy League.
Right.
So the way you are showing your intelligence and the way you are showing your dedication and patriotism, it's by serving in the army in an elite unit, like my son. My son was educated, all my boys were educated to be humanistic and solving problem, you know, by negotiation. And my son is actually a nature boy, nature lover. And he plays music and and very, very sensitive. We did not have any weapon toys, military toys in the house, for example.
Okay.
He did not grow up with any, and our area here in the Galilee, we are from kibbutzim, so we consider to be the peace camp. So most of the people in our neighborhood and surrounding the liberal left wing. Still, when he was drafted, he told me it's my turn. I said, why are you doing that? I mean, I'm not for, there were people that refused to go to the army. And I believe that you need to change the law. You cannot take the law into your hand for anything unless you know it's something really extreme. So you need to serve in the army. We need the army to protect us. But we cannot allow the government to use our army while they are not negotiating any problems and immediately send the troops as the first choice. This is what we are working now. So it will be a law against it. And it's not only us saying that. For years, the people who we had committees who reviewed the wars and the way the government acted. And this was all across the board, the conclusion. Governments don't do enough to prevent wars. And it's because of the weakness of the leadership. And we need to work on that. But regarding our soldiers, so first of all, you are drafted and you need, it's like Switzerland. You need to have a strong army in order to stay safe.
Right.
But we are against using it for every time you are neglected to do your job as government. So about our boys, so they were drafted to protect us, and they did the best work they can. My son was awarded because he used to do the best thing he can in every environment is in. And now my goal is to change the situation here so he can excel in science, in art, in literature, in any other invention, and not in the military necessarily. He needs to do his service, but not as going and killing our other people. Can you imagine? I know how scarred they come back from this service. We acknowledge that the Israeli government society understand that how scarred are our boys. Many of them, and you know it from the Vietnam War, many of them don't recover.
Right.
How can you be the same person? So our sons were against the war for our protest, but still told us we need to be there to do the best thing we can to protect our lives. But we want you to protest and to get us out of there. On the day we withdraw from Lebanon, you need to see the videos in my website. There is a video of the troops coming out of Lebanon. Yeah, we are out. They're so happy that they withdraw from Lebanon. So I named my book, Mom, I'm Back Home. I'm out of Lebanon. This was the call. They called their parents and said, I'm out.
Yes.
And how twisted it is. So they are forced to be there, and some of them are brainwashed. Many young people can think for themselves and understand. We are being sacrificed there.
Yeah. I love how it ended too with Bohemian Rhapsody. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very sweet. That's very sweet.
Yeah, it's cool. And we got for a while we were scared that we won't get the rights for the song, for the music, and Brian allowed us to use it.
Oh, great, Brian May.
Yeah, Brian from Queen, you know.
Wow, that's
I know.
awesome.
We said, yeah, go ahead and use it. We got hold of him, and yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. It was.
I know.
Yeah, it was a perfect way to end it. Really, really awesome. Yeah. I have one more question, and then after, if you wanted to give any closing thoughts or just anything else that you wanted to know. But was there anything that surprised you or didn't surprise you as you were filming this?
Yeah, I was surprised. We also interviewed all the politicians that were involved, and then the decision of the filmmakers was not to use this.
Oh.
I was surprised to see that after this such success event of withdrawing from Lebanon, and since then I was actually shocked about the fact that the war stopped at once. Usually we start a war in one day. To stop a war like that, it was unbelievable for me. I didn't expect it. And I am surprised today to hear this politician that ruled then said, we don't think it was such a great idea to withdraw from Lebanon. What are you talking about? How dare you? It just get to show you how delusional and detached. And they will say everything like they used to protect their vision. And it doesn't matter how many people are dying for that. And it doesn't matter that it doesn't, facts and research show them that they are wrong. It doesn't matter. So 20 years later, I was shocked to see that. I said, it's a lost cause. They understand only when we we can talk about their interests, what they have to gain about it. So it's a nasty game, politics. And I am also very surprised about the fact that most of the time, this quiet, the Galilee is now peaceful. From time to time, we have events. Since we entered Lebanon, we have evoked the southern Lebanese to create Hezbollah, which is supported by Iran. So now Hezbollah, and it's there is a kind of a separation between Hezbollah, and you will hear that many Lebanese are against them, because their success and their existence depends on attacking Israel, even with no reason. And because they are being supported by Iran. So now they build tunnels underground and prepare themselves for the next war, and spending a lot of money that Lebanon don't have. The same issue of leaders that gain from this war. So this needs to stop. But relatively, so far, more than 20 years, it's very nice to be here, unlike before. So this was a very nice thing to review and to see, although there's crazy people we had to take us through this ordeal. So we managed to stop it, to turn off the fire. But I'm afraid, always afraid, and this is, we are going to a closing statement. I'm afraid every day that politicians who are getting into trouble, if it's about corruption, sexual, anything that we blame them personally, they are going to start a war to cover for their misfortune. And we were very close now with Netanyahu blaming him for corruption, stepping down. So there was a war, 10 days of violence in Gaza, in the south. And they started also here. And I went all around and said, we are not going to let you do it again. And we need to be, and this is my message, we need to be on the streets. There is no vacuum. There are so many people that think that power is the only way to run the world. And the moment they have military on their side and all the weapons in the world, they use it against their citizens. And many people are brainwashed and willing to do it if you convince them. So in order to stop that, we need to be out. And every time we are involved in this act of violence, not to let it happen and to do everything we can to stop it, because nobody cares about our lives and we need to take charge.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Wow.
I hope the state will be, I understand now that after Trump, they need to recover, but I hope the state will lead more this wave in the world. And don't let extremists and other groups to destroy our peace.
That's right. But when we have fighters like you, I personally feel good. I feel safe.
Yeah, we have to fight in order to have peace, definitely.
Well, Doctor, thank you so much. This was such an honor and again, such a privilege. Thank you for making the time. We are looking forward to your next submission and we will definitely be on the lookout for all things for mothers. Thank you so much again.
You're welcome. And go into rachelbandur.com and go to the archive and read and be active. Don't let violence to take over our world in women's life, in domestic violence, and any other violence.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace and love.
Thank you.